Absolutely, Mr. Speaker. I think I'd give that speech a 1.5 out of 10. So 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10 I'd give that speech, Mr. Speaker. Thank goodness Mr. Quinn was here to kick us off this morning with an energetic speech on the Customs and Excise Joint Border Management Information Sharing and Other Matters Amendment Bill, because, Mr. Speaker, on this fine Wellington Saturday morning, I'm thrilled to be here to be speaking about this. Paul Quinn's done his day's work. He's gone. He's done his day's work. He's off home. But we're happy to be here, Mr. Speaker. Roseneath, he's an Annette's electorate, Annette King's electorate, that's right. What was that, Mr. Brownlee? Oh, no, I don't think so, Mr. Brownlee. I don't think so. Mr. Speaker, the Customs and Excise Joint Border Management Information Sharing and Other Matters Amendment Bill is a bill that has actually been improved by the Select Committee when it went to the Justice and Electoral Select Committee. That committee chaired by Chester Borrows, a man I don't think appreciated on that side of the House to the full extent of his abilities, because this committee actually did some excellent work. Well, that's actually something that's been discussed, whether Chester Borrows should actually be in Cabinet and who it is that's keeping him out of Cabinet on that side of the House over there. I'm not sure. It could be Mr. Quinn's work in the background yet again. That's yeah, true, sorry. Impossible, isn't it? But this bill, in fact, has come back in a significantly improved form from when it went to the Select Committee. And I have to say that my very good colleague, Sue Williams-Seo, who is the Labour Party's customs spokesperson, actually came to some caucus members about this bill because he had some very particular concerns around the question of information sharing. And they were concerns that a number of us in the caucus, when we actually looked at the bill, shared with him, because before the bill went to the committee, it did seem to have what was a very open approach around the question of information sharing. And I think if we refer, Mr. Chair, to clause 282B of the bill, or new section 24, the new 228B, it actually says access by accessing agency to border information. The purpose of this section is to facilitate the exchange of information between agencies at the border to enable them to coordinate their border protection functions. And, Mr. Speaker, I think everybody in the House would want to see a well-coordinated, well-organised border system. There obviously are multiple agencies involved here: MAF, Biosecurity, Customs, Police and so on. They do need to be able to work together well. But if we move to subclause 2, it says any accessing agency may, for the purpose of this section, access any border information held by a holder agency if access is authorised by the regulations in this Act. Now, that is a very open provision, Mr. Speaker, to actually have a provision that says that if you are an agency that has access, as defined under this bill, you can have any information whatsoever held by those other agencies. And the caveats on this were included in 286A, which were the regulations relating to information sharing. And the first of those says, the Governor-General may, by order in Council made on the recommendation of the Minister, make regulations specifying who those agencies are. So in effect, what we were setting up here was a process by which information could be shared among these agencies simply by order in Council, simply by the Minister saying, I think this should happen. And as has been spoken about already in the debate on this reading, Auckland Airport, as an agency involved in this, began to think, well, this is interesting. What might we be able to do with this? And they came to the Select Committee, as I understand it, and they talked about the fact that they were very interested in sharing information about who might be arriving on a flight, Mr. Speaker, so they could perhaps tailor what products were available in the shops at Auckland Airport, which seems to be a somewhat unusual approach to sharing border information. Well, it may be quite easy. They could make sure there might be a large display of chocolates at the door, which might be of some interest to some members on the other side of the House, perhaps, or possibly some large displays of other interesting drinks and things that people might like to buy when they come in. So Auckland Airport were actually very keen to get that information and use it as a commercial opportunity. And I have to say, well, that's right. They may have been able to see which members and their spouses and so on were finding their way into the country and tailor the goods available. Well, Mr. Speaker, from this side of the House point of view, that did raise some alarm bells, and obviously it also did for the rest of the committee. And Chester Burrows, when he spoke last night, made the point that the committee not only took on the advice of officials on this matter, that there was a need to tighten up, but also themselves put in some additional matters. And they are what are now provided in the new subclause 2 of 286A. And it does say that before recommending the making of regulations under this section, there are a large number of matters that the Minister needs to consider. And it actually, the first point that is raised there is whether or not it's personal information that's included within the information that's been shared. And I think that highlights probably some of the key concerns. That privacy was going to be heavily compromised here, that people who had given information in good faith to a border agency, perhaps immigration, perhaps customs, could find that information being given out to another agency and in a way that they personally would not approve of. So that's the first consideration that the Minister has to have. They also have to consider the amount of personal information that's been made available. Is it appropriate for the needs of the accessing agency? Whether it represents a significant proportion of the border information? Is it everything that they need to know? And how sensitive that information might be? The level of accuracy of that information. There's no particular test on these agencies that the information is strictly accurate, yet it's being shared. And so that could have some consequences for those people whose information is at hand there. But perhaps more importantly, Mr Speaker, in subclause 3, there is a series of things that the Minister must do. And I know that the current Minister of Customs, Maurice Williamson, is not a man who likes any kind of compulsion. He doesn't like to be told what to do, particularly by his own leadership. But now within this law, as the Minister, there are some things he must do under subclause 3. And the first of those things that he must do is consult with the Privacy Commissioner, and that is a very important check and balance that the Select Committee has put in place on this bill, because the Privacy Commissioner does have that independent status and role, and we're going to be talking in another bill shortly about the importance of independence for core and important officers who work on behalf of us through the public service. But the Privacy Commissioner is somebody who has that, so the Minister must consult with them if information is going to be shared in this way. The agencies affected have to be consulted, and organisations considered by the Minister to be representative of interests likely to be substantially affected by the regulation. So there's quite a wide ambit of people there who the Minister must consult when these regulations are being put in place. Members of the public are named in and of their own right as a category, and that's to be done via a public notice of consultation. And then the Minister must take the consultation and the results of that consultation into account. So the Select Committee has, in fact, I believe, Mr Speaker, done a very good job of ensuring that we now have a provision here that enables border agencies to share information with each other, but does that in a framework that gives me, and I hope other members of the House, confidence that there will be a process that will not compromise personal privacy issues, that will not compromise the overall security of New Zealand, and will not unreasonably see that information shared, for instance, for a highly commercial purpose that might not be appropriate in terms of where that information came from. So, Mr Speaker, that is only one part of this bill, but I focused on it because it was the section of the bill that alarmed me when it was introduced at its first reading, or after it was drawn to my attention by Sir William Seat, and I think that the committee has improved it. I think that is a testament to the excellent members of the Justice and Electoral Committee. There are other changes that they have made in the bill which have already been discussed by my colleague Nanaia Mahuta around biofuels, and they too make some improvement, and I think therefore we have a piece of legislation that's returning to us at the second reading, giving an example, I think, Mr Speaker, of why we should send bills to Select Committee. And we shouldn't use the urgency process to bypass proper scrutiny, because what if this bill had gone through all of its stages, as other bills have in this process, had not had the scrutiny it needed and had not been improved in the way that it has? That would have been a shame, and that has been seen far too often from this government. But at least on this bill we have a process that has worked, and a much improved piece of legislation that I think hopefully most parties in this House will be able to support.